So, hi everyone. Have you ever had the sneaking suspicion that something is off with your family of origin? In that you have tried different ways to communicate with them after perhaps a blow up, or they don't ever acknowledge or recognize when they are at a fault. You feel like the black sheep or the scapegoat of the family. In this video, I'm going to talk about that dynamic, understanding it from different lenses, particularly from Bowen family therapy, as well as understanding it from a narcissistic abuse lens. I will also pull from other approaches such as family constellations. My name is Blake Anderson, and I'm a registered social worker and therapist here in Toronto, Ontario. I have over 13 years of experience in this area. In this video, I'm going to walk through the different aspects of this dynamic where there's this feeling that there's a sneaky suspicion that something's going on in your family of origin, yet you continue to try to communicate and address the issue, but often it's met with dismissal, scapegoating, or a sense that you're being too sensitive or simply are misremembering things. It's understanding first that there's illusion of harmony in these families. So on the surface, there's a perception that there's harmony, but really this is contrast with the underlying coldness and subtle put downs that you often experience. From the outside, looking in, the family of origin that's considered narcissistic or dysfunctional gives the perception that everything is harmonious and there's a sense that there is a caring, loving family. But in reality, there is, again, this coldness and put downs, often from the parents or siblings. The notion of the scapegoat can be one child that is throughout the course of the family. There can also be shifting loyalties throughout the family, and depending on who's the favorite, this can shift depending on where the parents are putting their attention. So if one child is, let's say, exceeding in school, or perhaps has a new job or a new partner, then maybe temporarily that child can become the golden child. But over time, perhaps maybe their job isn't as good as the other sibling, or maybe they break up with their boyfriend or girlfriend, and this leads the family to shift. And as that child is not giving the narcissist parents the supply they crave, they become the scapegoat, or due to the personality of the child, or just the way the child is in terms of maybe being a truth teller, being maybe the odd one out in terms of being a bit of a black sheep, then these parents can, from a very young age, select a child that is considered the scapegoat. The scapegoat goes back many centuries. I think it first showed up in the Bible, if not earlier, in terms of the Old Testament, in terms of the Jewish origins. And the notion is that the tribe would use a goat as a scapegoat to offer the gods. You can understand that this goes back into our evolutionary history for many years. And the family of origin that's dysfunctional needs a scapegoat to give the family a sense of normalcy. It helps the parents in a very unhealthy and sick way project onto a child to alleviate a lot of the anxiety that they might be experiencing, or their unowned, unconscious material. So issues of their own shame and their own guilt or their own shortcomings, they project that onto the child to alleviate that stress and anxiety. And the siblings can also play in this dynamic. From a young age, they learn that in order to get the attention of the parents or to get their loyalty, they have to sacrifice their sibling and their loyalty to their sibling over the parents' approval. And so in Bowen family therapy, there's a notion of the intergenerational process, and the sense that, according to Bowen, the family is an emotional unit. And this can get passed down throughout generations with a lack of differentiation. When a family has a lack of differentiation, there's usually projections occurring, and the inherent multi-generational dysfunction is still occurring within the family. The scapegoat is usually considered the stronger one of the family, as for many years they've taken a lot of abuse and neglect in subtle ways. They've had to contain and suppress a lot of those put downs and that scapegoating. And there's a lot of pain and suffering that can occur for these scapegoats, as they often cannot communicate what they're going through, as when they do protest or when they do stand up for themselves, often that is met with blame, shame, and other tactics from the family in terms of gaslighting and other ways in which the family ensures that scapegoat, their truth doesn't get legitimatized. And in bone family therapy, he also has the notion of emotional triangles. And that is to know that in any family, in any relationship, there is a dyad. So it could be both parents and a child, or it could be a parent and a sibling. They need a third to alleviate their anxiety and stress. This is what gives rise to the scapegoat. And or there's these hidden loyalties within the family, that there could be just family that wants to maintain the status quo. So they want to maintain this lack of differentiation. And in order to do that, they have to ensure that the scapegoat, that their truth isn't legitimatized and seen as valid, especially amongst other people. And this is why these triangles can occur within a family. And there's the notion of triangulations. It's just this unhealthy triangle that can occur where there's a loyalty between two people and the third is not being respected or heard. In terms of the narcissistic dynamic within the family, there's also the tactic to erode the self-trust that the scapegoat has. And so through this amplified both due to evolutionary aspects in terms of evolutionary impacts to group belonging. So we all want to belong to a family, to our society, and to our friends. And the family of origin is one of the main sources of our safety and sense of security growing up. When we're young and infants, we depend on our family, our parents, particularly our mother or primary caregiver. When we challenge the family and are met with gaslighting and deflection of blame, this evolutionary aspect of our being wanting to belong to the tribe comes online. This is why there can be attachment wounds and the sense that we are giving rise to our survival instincts. If we get ostracized or pushed out of the tribe, in this case the family, then that could mean, dire consequences for our survival. And this could be physical survival when we're young, but as we get older, it could also be things like inheritance, a sense of community. So the family and the community that we're a part, they could be smearing our name and kind of ostracizing us from the community or extended family. This is very much threatening to us as individuals. So we either have a choice to placate and go along with this scapegoating and try to appease the narcissist, depending on your circumstances. Sometimes, you might have nieces and nephews you want to stay in contact with, or perhaps it is inheritance or other reasons. You have the choice to subjugate yourself to that, or you can take a stand and live in defiance of the narcissistic parents. That's a difficult choice to make. According to Sam Vadkin, if the family is truly toxic, then we must leave, as any exposure to the narcissist or the emotionally immature parents. Well, I'm thinking more here, narcissistic parents, is if someone's emotionally mature, I think there's a level in which you can work with them. But if they're truly narcissistic, then that exposure is going to be very much detrimental to your emotional and mental health over time, as it'll erode your sense of identity. And Sam Vadkin talks about that the narcissist introduces death to all those around them. And this is why I usually encourage my clients, if it's truly toxic dynamic with their family of origin, that they should limit contact or go no contact. But of course, I never force that onto people or believe that they must do this. But if you truly come to assess the situation, recognizing that your family or your parents are narcissistic, then it's very much, that's the only real choice, I would say, to protect your own, what I talk about in my other videos about the notion of a growth hierarchy. In order for you to grow and develop as a human being, you find yourself regressing each time you're around your family. You try different ways to communicate, and yet it's met with dismissalness and there's no sense of accountability. Then you're really having a detriment to your family. If you're starting a family or you're in like a marriage or with your own kids, then it's going to affect that family and the way you show up. This is an easy journey, and I think often we're met when we're older with the notion of radical acceptance. So we might, for many years, we denied it or minimized it or suppressed it, right? As children, we internalize it and think, oh, maybe our family's right and maybe I'm too sensitive. We gaslight ourselves and believe these limited beliefs about ourselves that were passed down from our parents' projection or from our siblings. And so it's really uncovering and getting back to ourselves and getting back to these limited beliefs and regulating ourselves through our own physical health and our boundaries. And so in my course, I have a free course that I offer on scapegoat recovery and narcissistic abuse recovery. In that course, I walk through different lenses to really address and heal this aspect of yourself so that you're no longer dysregulated and reactive to the family of origin or a narcissistic dynamic. Definitely check out that course. In this video, I just wanted to cover different aspects and way in which the scapegoat can show up. Hopefully you found this video helpful and something that can help you on your journey. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe.